Hey, this is Dan from TrueNorthMotos. Today we are going to be doing some filming on a 2021 KTM 450 XCF that we are building into a lightweight dual sport and also a race bike. So this bike will be used for street use. It's going to be using a bunch of our products as well as some from other companies that we sell. And we're going to do kind of a step series of videos on building this thing out. We're going to do a quick video on plastic removal. You'll need to do this on most of all of our lighting kits to be able to install them. This one will specifically apply to 19 through 22 XC bikes and 20 through 22 EXC XCW bikes. So tools needed for this is just going to be 8mm. You are going to need a T45 Torx bit, 6mm, pair of Snips to get the zip ties on the frame guards. First thing we're going to need to do is remove the seat. 8mm bolt right here. Pull back and kind of lift the back of it. Seat will slide right off. Next is your seat bolt, or excuse me, your tank bolt. I usually just leave it down in there. You're going to want to take off your vent tube. Over here you'll need to disconnect your fuel line. So compress that tab, pull it out. Tip for putting this back together: always use grease on this O-ring. If you nick it, it will leak fuel. Do a little bit of grease. Don't get any on this tip down in your filter. Just wipe that off before you put it together. This bike has Bulletproof Designs radiator guards. These are what we like to run on everything. We use the rubber straps. If you don't have these, there will be 4 8mm bolts. So these make it much easier to remove your tank to do a trail side fix if you need to or anything like that. And we can separate your shrouds, lift up a bit, get your tank loose. Now you have more room to get to your fuel pump connector. So you don't want to bend this tab too far back and break it off. Don't pull on the wires, grab the bottom of the connector when you're pulling it out. Now that that's free, whole tank will come off the bike. Next step, remove the airbox cover, pop it out, and slide it down. Now we're going to remove this left side number plate. You'll need your T45. This is actually your subframe bolt. So when you're putting it back in, make sure to use medium strength Loctite. Going off of memory, the torque spec on these is 20, and the top subframe bolts, if you're ever doing them, are 22. Now, to remove this, hold down. It has tabs here and on the back side here that grab the airbox, and then pull back. You'll see the tab that grabs the rear fender. On the other side, T45. 8mm. And a 6mm. This is a plastic screw, guys. All you need to do is seat it, don't over tighten it, and strip out the threads when you're reinstalling this. Now I like to pull the frame guard and this piece off at once. Usually there's a zip tie there, there's not one on this bike. You're going to cut this zip tie, and then there will be one bolt. Sometimes they're 8mm here, sometimes they're 6mm. This bike is 6mm. So same type of thing. I'll separate this. I don't normally. Pull back. It's got 2 clips holding your frame guard and to the right side number plate. This will also be pulled down and back and separate. always like to put my bolts in groups of where they came from. You can use a table, magnetic tray, whatever you got to store them in, but it helps me to remember exactly where they go. On a XCW bike, EXC, you would have an under fender to remove, which would be 2 additional screws that aren't here on this bike since this is an XCF. They're 6mm plastic bolts. Remember, don't over tighten these when you do it. So rear fender removal. There's 2 bolts up by your battery box that are 8mm. Get those out of there. These also get Loctite when you reinstall them. Now your fender, just pull off, don't lose your spacer. So front number plate is very simple. SX, XE bikes are just going to have one 8mm bolt. XCW, EXC bikes, you're going to have a headlight with 2 rubber straps. There will be no bolt to remove it. A magnet is always handy to have in your toolbox to get bolts out. Pop that up. Get your brake line out of there. It's also a keeper behind the headlight mask. Most of our kits do not require removing the front fender, but since we're doing a full build on this with plastics and graphics, we're going to remove the front fender. 2 8mm bolts in the front. And 2 underneath. Fender sideways and it comes out. So this is a very simple process. A lot of you guys probably know how to do this already. This is mainly for you guys that just got one of this generation bike. Kind of just give an overview of how to remove the plastics easily without breaking any clips, and to do installs on lighting kits, maintenance, whatever else you need to do on the bike. Thanks for checking it out.